Today I'm really just going to speak from the heart. When this video is posted, it will have been 1 year since the shooting at Molson Coors. And I was a contractor, I am a contractor working with Molson Coors, and was at the facility when that shooting happened, when 6 people lost their lives, 5 gentlemen and the shooter. And I have to say that that incident, followed by my husband's workplace being threatened as a follow-on to the Molson Coors shooting 5 days later, created and opened up vulnerability in me that I've not experienced most of my life. And I've done a lot of personal work, a lot of personal development work, a lot of coaching, a lot of spiritual work, and it's still cracked open some vulnerability in me that I hadn't felt ever in my life. And I may get emotional here. I've talked a lot about in my videos about vulnerability and about creating a safe space in your workplace. And a lot of, there's not a lot. There were 13 incidents since 2006 when this incident happened at Molson Coors. Since 2006, 13 incidents of workplace violence where someone who had been employed there or worked there at the time committed that violence, a mass shooting, which is considered, I think, 5 people or more. And those shootings killed 90 people. And in the Molson Coors shooting last year, I think I said this, 5 individuals were shot, and then the shooter was killed as well. And there's really an awful lot that we can do to connect with people and to understand what they're going through and to really help raise people up and give them a voice and help them be heard. These shootings are not common. It's 13 since 2006. That's 14 years. So maybe 1 a year. And they're critical. People lost their lives, and families are without fathers, and sisters are without brothers, and mothers are without sons because of it. And there's an awful lot of other trauma, and I'm going to use the word trauma, that happens in the workplace, that we need to create safe space for people to talk about, for people to express themselves, to share, to be vulnerable, and as leaders, it's our responsibility to create that safe space, to open the door, to encourage the conversation, because there's things like a dominating boss, being shut down in meetings, being ridiculed about ideas that are brought up, being passed over for a promotion, all sorts of things that actually do create trauma in our bodies, and that we, if not processed properly, will stay in our bodies and will be manifested in a number of different ways, whether that's a heart attack, a stroke, an illness, a lower immune system, aches and pains in our joints. All sorts of things can happen. And I just want to create an awareness of what your employees might be going through. It's been a year, and I still have some of it to work through. It still affects me, and I don't always share what's going on. However, I've had the opportunity to share with some of the employees that were there when it happened. We were there. We weren't in the building that it happened. We were in a building half a block away, and we were in lockdown, and it was very scary. It was very traumatic. It was, we had police coming at us, hollering at us to come out with our hands up, because they were trying to figure out if there was another shooter on the campus. And it was very traumatic. And we don't always understand what our employees might be going through, whether it's something that's going on in their home, whether it's something that's going on with a relationship, with a friend, with a parent, with a coworker, with a boss. We need to treat everyone as human beings first, and a worker needing to get something done and needing to finish a project and needing to do their deliverables second. I realize that that's what they're there for, and we can't give our best when we're in a traumatized state. We can't have the ideas, the genius come to the table when we're in a traumatized state. There's so much, our frontal lobe turns off during trauma, and we can get triggered. We can get into that fight, flight, or freeze mode. Even though it's not the same incident, there's things that can trigger us into that and shut us down in a meeting, or trigger someone into a fight mode where they're getting very defensive and getting very angry and getting very domineering and dominating and aggressive. It shows up in different ways for different people. And I just encourage you to really open the door for the conversations and leave space. It's not going to happen always the first time you ask. You need to keep asking. Because, and maybe you're not the right person to open the door. Maybe there's other people who can help. For the first time in my life, I actually saw a therapist, or I'm seeing a therapist, because of some of the trauma that's happened. The big, the shooting a year ago was the one thing that kicked it off a lot of it. And it actually started even before that, when my best friend's partner died. So it's things like that we don't always realize how they're living, how that trauma is living in our body. And I really just encourage you, research ways. Brene Brown has, great insights on vulnerability. And, when I look at the work that we do around creating trust and creating constructive conflict, to be able to have these conversations, creating that level of trust where people feel they can safely share without repercussions, without being called out, without someone sharing what we've said. There's an awful lot of ways for you to create that open space, create and allow for the vulnerability. That's my message for you today. Please, I'm going to close out with just a moment of silence for those 5 people, the 6 people who lost their lives. Jesus Vale, 33, of Milwaukee. Jenade Levshitz, 61, of Mequon. Trevor Westelar, 33, of Milwaukee. Dana Walk, 57, of Delafield. Dale Hudson, 50, of Waukesha. Those were the 5 people who were gunned down. And also a moment of silence for Anthony Farrell, the shooter, who felt he wasn't heard, he wasn't, whatever. We're not sure what happened or what really was going on. There's all sorts of different things in the paper, but he felt that violence was the only way to get his message across, or to really, resolve what he was feeling. And so just a moment of silence for those folks. I encourage you throughout these next few weeks, throughout the next few months, how can you open the door to deeper conversations with your people, to create that level of trust, to enable that level of vulnerability, to really create that calm inside your folks that will allow their genius to come through. Thanks for listening.